everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from British Columbia, Canada. And tonight I'm here with a sketch challenge for you. So I'm just gonna wait a minute or two and I'm gonna put my AirPods in because I forgot to put them in, and hopefully this won't cause any issues, but we'll just make sure that I can actually connect with these in. It just makes it easier for you to hear me when I am over at my workstation. So I'm just connecting here to see if this works. There we go. I'm not sure it's going to work. No, I don't think it's going to work. Hopefully there's still sound and the AirPods aren't going to work. Sounds okay. Okay, so you haven't lost sound. That's great, Catherine Lynette. Good. All right. So I'm here with a sketch challenge. This is kind of a fun challenge. There's lots of ways to make this card and use the sketch. And so when I'm finished, I'll show you what I'm going to do. And then when I'm finished, I'll give you other ideas. Now, I forgot my phone so that I can see who's commenting. Don't forget to go, if you are coming in through Facebook, don't forget to go over to streamyard.com/Facebook. Hey, Tamarish, great. Welcome. That's what I wanted to see who is joining. Yeah, if you go over to streamyard.com/Facebook, you will be able to give permissions so that I can actually see who's commenting without looking on Facebook. All right. Hey, Therese. Great. Okay, perfect. All right, so let me switch over to my desktop and I will show you the sketch. Okay, I'm going to move my camera around so that hopefully you guys can still hear me. Hey, Nancy. So this is the sketch. So layer number, or your card base, is 5.5 by 8.5. Now, if you want to turn this and make it portrait, you can do that. I've got it as a landscape card. So that's the card base, is 5.5 by 8.5. Layer number 2, which is the yellow, is 4 inches by 5.25. And then you've got 3 pieces that are the blue that are 1.25 by 3.75. And then 2 pieces, those are the white pieces, that are 5/8 of an inch by 3.75. And then the green layer is layer number 4, which is 1.25 by 4.25. And then the orange layer, which I'm going to put my sentiment on, is 1 inch by 4 inches. And then this gray shape is for a die cut or a punched image of some sort that you're going to put on there. So let me show you what I'm going to use for this. I haven't used this. This is the Flowering Tulips bundle. Actually, I'm using the designer, excuse me, the designer series paper as well. So it's got some stamped images. Now these are at 90% of the full image. So they are smaller on this cover than the stamps actually are. It is 2-step stamping. So you'll be able to add color two colors to each of the stamps. What I really love about this are these sentiments. I love this one in particular, in this circle, that you could use a die cut or a punch on. And then in the stamp, you've also got the leaves and the stem. And then in the dies, you've got the die cuts to cut out these the stamped tulips. But you've also got die cuts, and I will show you on a future video on how to put these tulips together. They're really easy, but these pieces you cut out and then you fold them to form your tulips. And there are 3 different shapes of tulips, tulip and tulip buds. And then, of course, you can cut the stem and the leaves. And then there's some kind of a detailed piece. I think this will cut out little squares. This piece is really cool. It cuts out a whole series, kind of a border of tulips. Really pretty as a border. But I will use those on another day. For now, I'm going to use the stamped images. All right, so here's my supplies. I have got a piece of gorgeous grape. No, sorry, this is Highland Heather. Highland Heather. I decided to go with lighter Highland Heather, and it's 5.5 by 8.5. And I'm going to score it at 4.25 for my card base. Trying to see who's commenting. Turn that off. Oops. Oh, I'm trying to turn the volume off on my phone. There we go. Hey, Carol. All right, so I've got this scored. Now, this is the side I scored on, so I'm going to fold into the mountain or into the raised piece. So fold into the side that you, the opposite side to what you actually scored on. And then just use your bone folder to give it a good burnish. And then I've got a piece of Daffodil Delight. Decided I was going to be really kind of bright and springy. It's still pretty snowy here and just pouring with rain. So the snow won't last long, but it definitely is snowy. All right, so then I've got, these are my layer number 2 pieces. These are the 3 pieces, and I've cut these from this beautiful designer series paper that is part of the suite. And then the opposite side to this is this really pretty green. So I'm going to put that green in between, and we'll adhere those down. So I'm going to use my liquid glue for this because it will give me just a little bit of extra wiggle room as I'm trying to position these. So I'm roughly going to put that like that, hold it in place to at least get it starting to be set. And then these 2 little pieces will butt up against the designer series paper on either side. Kind of gives it a window effect. So when I said that this is a kind of a versatile sketch, you could actually just cut these 3 pieces, larger pieces of designer series paper, and then not put the little pieces, the 5/8 of an inch piece, because you could just leave. I could have left the Daffodil Delight showing through. So that's another option. You could use cardstock, just another color of cardstock, or you could use cardstock that you've embossed. All sorts of options for you for this sketch. All right. Try not to get my liquid glue too close to the edge, but sometimes it doesn't. I heard a new word the other day. I always call it squidging out the edge. I don't know if that's a word, but that's what I call it. Somebody on another meeting I was on called it squelching, which I thought was interesting. I hadn't heard that word before. All right, so we're going to adhere this down. Whatever it is, sometimes it comes out the side and you don't want the glue. So try not to get it too close to the edge, and that way it won't leak out. There we go. You can also leave it sit for, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds, and then it starts to thicken and set a little bit, and then it doesn't squidge as much as it would. All right, so my piece of layer number 4, this is 1 1/4 by 4 1/4. I've cut out of Highland Heather, and then I've got a piece of basic white that is 1 inch by 4 inches. So that's what I'm going to stamp on. But before I do that, I'm going to do some stamping with the Tulip Stamps and leaves. So I'm gonna, so it's 2-step stamping. So you want to make sure you get both of the stamps. And I'm gonna do the kind of a bud. So there are, this is the piece that, make sure I get the right piece that goes in that. No, it's that one, this one. All right, there we go. So I've got the bud and the bigger tulip. Oh, and then the other pieces I want are the leaves and the stem. There's a stem and a leaf. All right. So it is two-step stamping. So I'm going to stamp my tulips in Highland Heather and Daffodil Delight. So I am going to, figure out which is which. Well, let's try this on my grid paper. So it's two-step stamping. Okay, so that's going to be the detail, and then this one goes over top like that. All right, so that's one option. And then the other option is to do it with that. And then I think I like this one better. Okay, so we're going to do it opposite to what I just did. All right, so we're going to do this. And then I think I did this. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. I'm going to stamp off on this so it's not quite so dark. And we'll just get a bit of a light purple in my flower. Here we go. And then the other thing I need, and I didn't do, is the center. There is kind of a little tiny stamp with what looks like the center of the tulips that will go here. Like that. All right, and now I want the bud. So let's do this one. Like that. And again, I'm going to stamp off with the gorgeous grape. I don't know that that's right, but we're going to do it anyway. And no, I don't think a bud has a center to it, so we won't do that. Now, I want to stamp. I've got a piece of Pear Pizzazz here and some Pear Pizzazz ink. Does anyone have the measurements of the sketch? Is that Kathleen? I will, for the card, Kathleen, I will be posting the sketch right after that's the wrong color. That's because I don't have my Pear Pizzazz out. Okay, hang on for a second as I grab my Pear Pizzazz. All right, yes, we don't want to stamp the stem in Highland Heather. That just doesn't do. So yeah, Kathleen, I will post the sketch so you will have the measurements as soon as I'm finished here, and that way everybody can play along with it. There, we'll stamp out 2 stems and 1 leaf. There we go. All right, now where's my dies? Okay. So I believe that one goes there. And then this die goes like that. And then the leaf. And then the stem. All right, and I'm just going to use a little bit of Post-it note tape to hold these in place so they don't shift when I'm die cutting. I don't know if that's going to hold, but we'll try and make it hold. There we go. And so if you don't have Post-it note tape, you can use just Post-it notes. You can buy little Post-it notes. That works well. If you've got a magnetic plate, unfortunately Stampin' Up! Still doesn't sell them, but if you've got a magnetic plate, you can use those as well. But I don't have one, and so let's bring in my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and run this through and cut tulips out. tulips. Now we'll run the leaves through. And one more stem. Push that stem out and cut the last stem. There we go. I haven't played with this set very much. In fact, this is only the second card I've made, so we'll see how this goes. It's such a pretty suite. And the paper is just so stunning. Okay, so there's my second stem. Push that out. There we go. And the leaf, push that out. I could have stamped those on basic white as well and stamped it in Pear Pizzazz, but I just kind of like the look of the green cardstock and then stamping on it. So, all right. Okay, so now let's do some assembly. I've got those. Where's my card? It's here. And then, oops, dropping things. There's the inside of my card. Here's my other pieces. Okay, so let's do some stamping. I'm going to use the No One Deserves a Happier Birthday. I think this will fit. Yep. Than you. Depending on the size, as I think I say this every time we do a sketch, if your sentiment is bigger or smaller, you can always adjust the size of the piece you use for the sentiment. So I'm going to stamp it a little closer to the right-hand side because that way I've got some room to put my die cuts. And we will adhere. Yes, we'll use some Stampin' Seal. Close to the middle. And then some dimensionals. When you've got a really big piece of cardstock like this, I like to put some dimensionals kind of in the middle so that I've got some on kind of the edges and then in the middle. Sometimes I stagger them as well. That way it doesn't wobble when it won't sag on you. Always drives me crazy when I get on one of my cards, the sentiment wobbles because it isn't on. I'm going to leave a little touch of the yellow showing. I think that's straight. And then let's use some dimensionals to pop up our tulips. My silicone mat here. I'm just going to put a little bit of Stampin' Seal in the middle of this stem, and that way it will go on my sentiment piece. And then my other stem. So I'm not putting it the whole way. There we go. And like that, and then the leaf like that, and now we can I think I need to double stack my tulips. I've already got one layer. My sentiment piece is already one layer high, so we'll double stack so that it doesn't This is a little bit higher than my sentiment piece. Right. Probably could have used different colors for that, but that's okay. All right, now for the inside of the card, what shall we do? Let's at least stamp a tulip. I'm going in the right way. So let's just put a tulip down here in the corner. Stamp off. And then we're centering it. Here we go. All right, I'm not going to put a sentiment in there. We'll just adhere this. Oops. Makes me feel like spring, and right about now with the snow on the ground here, it feels good to feel like spring. Now, these are, and this is a tongue twister. These are brushed brass butterflies. So these come, there are 80 of them. This is part of this suite. And so I'm going to use a couple of the butterflies on here just to give it a little bit of a, so there are two different sizes. There are these little tiny ones and then a bigger one. So we'll just put a little tiny one and a bigger one on here. All right. So I'll bring back in the sketch. Let's show you. So here's my sketch. So it looks pretty close. As I said, you could do it in all sorts of ways. I've used 2 pieces of designer series paper for my layer number 2 and 3. You could actually, like I said, you could all use all cardstock. You could use embossed cardstock. You could use a combination. You could create your own background by stamping on it. So there's lots of options that you have to create this background. But the designer series paper is just so stunning. And then, as I said, depending on the size of your sentiment, you can make it bigger or smaller, these 2 pieces that are layer 4 and 5. So I will post my sketch and you can play along with it. If you are part of my Facebook group, Facebook group, don't forget to post your cards that you make, because I will be doing a draw at the end of January, and a couple of draws. I always draw 2 people and send them something in the mail for sharing. So if you're part of my Facebook group, don't forget to do that. If you're not part of my Facebook group, you can search for it. It's called Create with Stamping with Melva. And you can request to join. I'd love to have you as part of it. If you are coming in through YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you will get notified when I go live, which I do on a regular basis. Okay, that's my card for tonight. So I will be back on Thursday night with a technique this time round. I'm going to alternate my mystery challenge, which I do in my group every other week now. I'm going to alternate it with a technique. So I will be back live on Thursday night at 6:30 Pacific with a technique. And then I'll be live on Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific and 12 noon on Sunday. So you can, there'll be notices in my Facebook group and on my Facebook page when I'm going live. If you're coming in through YouTube, if you do subscribe, you will get notified when I go live. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great night. Happy stamping. Bye.